You know, when you picture cybersecurity, you probably imagine this frantic real-time battle. Hackers versus defenders, clacking away at keyboards. But what if I told you the real fight is actually won way before the first attack even lands? In this explainer, we're going to look at the blueprint, the architecture you need to build a real cyber fortress, a truly successful security operations center.
So before we can even think about building a defense, we've got to understand the offense. We need to look at how cyber attacks themselves have changed over the years, because, trust me, it's not just about the technology, it's about the motivation.
What's so fascinating is how the why behind hacking has shifted. I mean, think back to the 70s, 80s, even the 90s. You had script kiddies, people hacking for bragging rights, right? To prove how good they were, almost like a digital sport. But then, the 2000s hit, and e-commerce exploded. All of a sudden, there was real money on the line. And bam, organized cybercrime was born. And that leads us straight to today, where we're dealing with these incredibly sophisticated targeted attacks for huge political or financial gain.
And the scale we're talking about is, well, it's just staggering. Look at this number, $9 billion. That was the estimated global damage from a single piece of malware way back in the year 2000. The I Love You worm did all that in just 1 month. That was over 2 decades ago. Just try to imagine the numbers we're dealing with now.
So how in the world do organizations fight back against a threat this massive? Well, the standard issue weapon in this war is what's known as the SOC.
So a SOC, which stands for Security Operations Center, is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's a centralized command center. It's a team of people whose entire job is to constantly monitor, detect, analyze, and respond to any and all cybersecurity threats. It's basically the digital watchtower for the entire organization.
But here's where things get complicated. If SOCs are the solution, then problem solved, right? Well, not so fast. Why do so many of them seem to struggle? The research this explainer is based on points to a huge problem. There are no universal guidelines, no benchmarks. Organizations are out there trying to build these critical defenses without a clear blueprint.
And this is where the research gets really helpful. It breaks down what every single successful SOC is built on. Turns out, it all comes down to 3 fundamental pillars.
This image just illustrates the idea perfectly. It's not about just one thing. A truly successful SOC is this harmonious balance of 3 interconnected parts: humans, processes, and technology. You can't just go out and buy a solution. You have to carefully build this balance yourself.
And look, this isn't just a nice-sounding theory. The researchers dug through 11 different studies on what makes a SOC successful, and the results were absolutely unanimous. Every single study identified humans, process, and technology as essential. That is a crystal clear consensus across the entire field.
All right, let's break these pillars down. First up, the human factor. This is your team, the skilled, sharp analysts who have to outthink creative attackers and manage incidents when the pressure is on. The research is emphatic on this. Even with the best technology in the world, a SOC is absolutely nothing without the right people.
Pillar number 2, process. Think of this as the playbook. It's the set of documented procedures that tells everybody what to do and when to do it. It's what ensures that when an incident kicks off, the response is consistent and effective, not just total chaos. This is what turns a group of smart people into a well-oiled machine.
And finally, we have technology. These are the tools that give your people superpowers and make the processes actually work. We're talking everything from incredibly sophisticated systems like a SIEM, that's a Security Information and Event Management System, all the way down to simple little scripts that automate boring tasks. Technology gives you the vision and the scale you need to defend a modern company.
So we have our 3 pillars, but how do we actually put them all together into something that works? This is where the research gives us a clear architectural blueprint.
This quote really just nails the whole idea, doesn't it? You can't just buy a successful security program off the shelf. Like any strong fortress, it has to be deliberately designed and built from the ground up.
Every fortress needs a solid foundation, right? Well, for a SOC, that foundation is top management support. The research data was overwhelming here. It is the single most influential factor for success. It provides the direction, the authority, and the strategic vision a SOC needs to even exist, let alone succeed.
Now, building on top of that foundation is the next crucial layer: financial resources. I mean, management support is fantastic, but without a dedicated budget, it's really just talk. Money is the fuel. It pays for the technology, it pays for the skilled people, and it pays for the time it takes to build those solid processes. Okay, so with that rock-solid foundation of support and funding in place, now we can start to erect our three pillars: technology, human, and process. They rise up directly from that base, forming the core strength of the whole structure.
And what are these pillars holding up? They're supporting the roof, and the roof is the SOC itself, acting as the protective shield for the entire organization. It can only stand strong because of that foundation and those pillars underneath it, safeguarding the company's assets and its entire mission.
And there it is, the whole shebang, the complete model from the paper, a true fortress for cyber defense. You can see it all laid out, the foundation of top management support and financials. You can see the three pillars, and you see how continuous improvement is woven in, making sure the fortress is always being maintained and upgraded. It all comes together to protect the organization's vision and mission.
Okay, let's wrap this all up. What are the key takeaways you need to remember from this blueprint?
First, modern cyber threats are not some niche tech problem. They are a major business risk. Second, while a SOC is the standard defense, just having one doesn't mean you're safe. Real success depends on that delicate balance between the three pillars: humans, process, and technology. But even those pillars will crumble without a solid foundation of management support and financial resources. And finally, this is not a one-and-done project. That fortress needs continuous improvement to stand strong against new threats.
And that really brings us to the final critical question you have to ask yourself. When you look at your own organization's security, what do you see? Is it a well-constructed fortress, built on a solid foundation with strong pillars? Or is it a house of cards, just waiting for the first strong gust of wind to knock it all down?